So, Councilman Grimes may be back before you get to him.
Spell it out, please.
Right.
Mr. David Burris,
Here.
Mr. J.R. Huddleston,
President.
Deborah Johnson,
Here. Wasn't sure. Think of
Mr. Bill Lucas.
Excuse me. Here.
Mr. Larry Pratt.
Oh, here.
Mr. Ray Rowing.
President.
David Turner.
Here.
Mr. Wes Grimes.
President.
All right, would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And remember, conflict of interest, please bring it to the council's attention if you have one before anything is voted on. Need a motion for an amended agenda. To amend personnel item G. And that's simply to add an effective date of 5/29/21 for those individuals under item G. So we'd be adding an effective date of 5/29/21.
Make a motion to approve the agenda with the correction in item G under personnel, be the effective date 5/29/21 for those individuals so listed.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Need a motion to approve the minutes from the May 17th meeting, please.
I would make a motion to approve the minutes from the May 17th regular council meeting.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Need a motion to approve the minutes from the May 24th special council meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the May 24th special council meeting.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Need a motion to approve the bills in between.
I make a motion to approve the bills in between for $228,480.13.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Motion to approve the current claims.
I make a motion to approve the current claims, $302,823.60.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I got a couple questions. Page 3. Down at the bottom, we've got some bottled water and some baked goods. Does anybody know what that's for?
That was recreation. They paid the helpers for moving the gymnastics equipment. I have the same question regarding playing. We basically approve those types of things.
Well, normally we don't pay stuff like that, I guess, so I was just kind of curious. That's usually a donated item by a friend or,
Well, remember, we didn't let the police department buy coffee, so I don't think we should approve this.
or I guess it should be taken out of there. And I guess, I don't know. I don't think we should pay it either. In other words, we're going to start a precedence of going backwards on what we didn't used to do.
Do you want both items removed?
Yes. Yes.
Any other comments?
I think it was a gesture for the volunteers that came out of, to help move keep the mats for gymnastics, which was a pretty heavy duty, took like 4 or 5 hours. So I think it was a small gesture.
Well, I'm not saying it wasn't, but normally the taxpayer shouldn't be on the hook for treats. I mean,
That's depressing. I was kind of hoping that was going to happen here, a few donuts.
There was coordination working with the school to get some of the folks, some of the young men from the football team to help out move this stuff. And there was a lot of city folks that helped out moving it also.
okay, well, let's move on to page 7. AmeriGas, we bought some pretty expensive propane. I don't know. I know we got a really good deal for that pre-buy, but
Yeah, that wasn't part of the pre-buy, and they made the mistake of changing us to fill as needed after the pre-buy, and we contacted them after this and straightened that out. So while we are not in our contract for pre-buy, they're to not deliver unless we request it.
okay, that's awful expensive. Okay, page 9. Where do we serve pork chops in the city?
The pro shop.
So that's a menu item or an item on the menu?
She caters.
Okay, no, I've never seen pork chops in our build before, so I was curious. That's all I had.
On the first one, what budget did that come out of? Right?
Recreation.
Looks to me like now any department head's gonna be able to just go and buy treats, I guess, if they want, if we approve it.
Any other questions regarding the current claims? Wes and Craig are asking to have on page 3, the bill to Sonny's and Upper Crust Cafe removed from the current claims. Is that correct?
Yep. Yes, sir.
And I understand that we don't pay for departmental, we had this issue with the police department and coffee and water.
And at City Hall and at the pro shop.
So, but I don't know, I guess where we're using volunteer labor, this seems a little bit different. Now, whether this should be a pre-approved item and not being, I do think that something like this should be pre-approved, but I don't know that we'd be setting a precedent by approving this, so that's my thoughts.
Any other questions? All right, so the motion in front of you is to approve the current claims minus Sonny's and Upper Crust Cafe on page 3. All in favor of approving the current claims?
Which one are you doing? So let's do
First motion, I didn't read the amendment, but
the first motion was for as is,
Approve.
not to change. So we got to drop that one and then redo the motion.
Or you can vote on that motion and
Well, yeah, or we can go that route. We'll just ask for
All right,
votes on this as it stands.
so motion to approve the current claims. All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Opposed?
aye.
So that was 3. Caitlin, Wes, and Craig. Larry? So we have 4 against and 4 in favor.
I mean, if we're setting a precedence here and we've never done this before, I think that we need to really think about this.
Okay,
I'm not against it. I know the volunteers probably did an outstanding job, but still, I mean, where are we going to be at if we are, like you're saying?
So if it's a tie vote, the vote fails, right?
Did Larry oppose? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Larry, Craig, Wes, and Caitlin voted,
the tiebreaker?
I can't spend money.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
So we need to pay these bills.
I make a motion to pay the bills without paying for the water and the baked goods.
Second.
All right, so the new motion in front of you is to pay the current claims minus the Sunnies and the Upper Crust Cafe. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Misty, would you call the roll, please?
Dave Burris,
Yes.
Wes Grimes,
Yes.
J.R. Huddleston,
No.
Deborah Johnston,
No,
Bill Lukens,
No.
Larry Pratt,
Yes.
Craig Romy,
Yes.
Caitlin Turner.
Yes.
5.
So the motion passes.
I would like it to be said the next time they're going to have any type of this going on, it needs to be pre-approved, or at least somebody talks to your immediate supervisor. Pass it on down there. I agree.
Yes, I think it's a nice gesture, but I agree with Wes and Craig that it shouldn't be taxpayer funded.
Okay, so we're at 7:11. We're past the 7:10 public hearing. So we'll jump ahead in the schedule to a 7:10 public hearing for alcoholic beverage license application from Springs Hotel LLC, doing business as Springs Coffee Kiosk, for retail on-off sale wine and cider license to be used at 602 Sulphur Springs Street. Is there anybody here from the public that would like to speak to this?
You want to speak, Vicky? Okay, thank you.
All right. Anybody else from the public? Council, you have questions?
No, I do know that the same family has been in the restaurant business and so on and so forth. So I do know that they know good food handling licenses and all that. So personally, I have no problem with this.
Anyone else? All right. If there are no other questions, we'll close the public hearing at 7:13. And need a motion to approve the alcoholic beverage license application.
I'll make a motion to approve the alcoholic beverage license application from Springs Hotel LLC, doing business as Springs Coffee Kiosk, for a retail on-off sale wine and cider license to be used at 602 Sulphur Spring Street.
Second.
Any other questions, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations. That takes us back to Wells Fargo credit card claims. Can I get a motion on that, please?
Make a motion to approve Wells Fargo credit card claims $5,710.91.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Next item is communications from the public. Is there anyone in the public that would like to address the council?
Somebody in the back?
Way in the back there. Come on down.
Eileen Oliger, 446 South Fifth Street. I'm hoping that this meeting tonight, that our issue could be resolved, because it's still an issue of my mom's disability, but there's something that I just had to say about the overall process, and I'm just going to read it for time constraints here.
Eileen,
Yes.
can you get in a little closer?
Closer to the mic?
Thank
Okay.
you.
I have to express the disappointment that my mother and myself had experience with the process of attempting to obtain a temporary carport permit based solely upon the safety and accessibility needs for a disabled person. The reason why is because the unprofessionalism conducted at the zoning meeting was very disconcerting. This is not the behavior that we would expect of persons who make decisions that will directly affect a person's life. And I want to say, please note that I'm not referencing all of the people that are on the zoning commission, because we just felt that no one should have to engage in these type of discussions in a public forum, and that some of these issues should not have been handled in a public group setting as they were at the zoning meeting. And I just wanted to say that because I want to thank all of you for being here for this. But that was just the comment that we had that I just wanted to express about our issue hasn't come up yet, but about the issue that we have. So I just want to say thank you and explain that there were some difficulties with this at that meeting, or a couple of those meetings.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was very disconcerting. You know, I don't think people should have to be in a situation like that. You know, I
I
really
agree
don't. I mean, this has
100%.
been, you guys have all been very professional, and I just don't feel that, you know, and my mom too, that it was appropriate, because we've been there a couple of times for meetings, so.
I think this is a good thing to happen because it brings American Disability Act more into play now so that we can start looking at the general public here and just not saying we have people that are ambulatory. We have disabled people in our community that we need to look as a whole also.
Right, that's why I just wanted to mention this here, you know, to you all. Thank you all for your time too, going back to the back with my mom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? All right, and it takes us to personnel actions. Remembering that personnel action item G was amended to reflect the effective date. Can I get a motion to approve personnel actions A through N?
Make a motion to move forward on the personnel from A to N with the change of 529 on G. For those are effective.
Second.
Discussion? I just want to remind council that I did send to you the application for Rick Breitenbach, the airport manager, that has been recommended to start at top of scale. And if you had an opportunity to look at his resume, I think you see that he comes highly qualified, and he's also agreed to get his inspector authorization license, which would certainly help as we attempt to grow the airport and get some kind of mechanic services out there. With his IA license, he'd be able to sign off on that, on those repair services that are actually done on aircraft. So he comes highly qualified. All in favor of personnel actions, items A through N?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Need a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 1230.
Make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 1230, an ordinance revising Title III Administration, Chapter 30, General Provisions, 30.22, Finance Officer, and 30.26, Public Works Engineer, removing appointed provision and replacing with full-time benefited hourly or salaried employee.
Second.
Discussion? Misty, would you call the roll, please?
David Burris,
Yes.
Wes Grimes,
Yes.
J.R. Huddleston,
Yes.
Deborah Johnston,
Yes.
Bill Lukens,
Yes.
Larry Pratt,
Yes.
Craig Romy,
Yes.
Caitlin Turner.
Yes.
Thank you.
The motion passes. Need a motion to approve resolution 2021-12.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2021-12, a resolution to reaffirm a citywide commitment to clean water and water resource protection.
Second.
Discussion? So this was a resolution that was also approved in 2017, I believe. This one's a little different in that it actually instructs the city to write a letter to the Water Resource Board stating our opposition to the proposed actions that they're taking. So this is an additional step that you would be requiring the city to take if you approve this. Anybody in the public that wants to comment on it? Please.
Hi, my name is Brenda Capesh. I really feel that you guys need to put a strong letter to the Water Management Board because this issue with this uranium mine has been so proven that it could move and it could cause a huge amount of damage to our areas. So you have to be serious and give them a strong public opinion from this council. If we don't get that, it's possible they will receive it. And we've seen Crow Butte and too many places be polluted. And it's because no one takes action. So I encourage you to please write it to the Water Management Board saying you oppose the permits, or our chances are very thin to win it. And we've been fighting this. I started fighting this in 2007. Now, that should tell you how many people opposed it, that it's been in court all this time. The only reason they're managing to get back to it is because they went on the stock market in Canada and got 30 cents a share and raised $6 million in the month of December. So now they have the money again. And we just don't need it. There are droughts in California, Arizona. We need to start thinking about preserving what we need, what our bodies need, what our fish need, what our wildlife needs, instead of handing it to a foreign country. And we're not going to get anything except a mess. So please consider. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you, Brandon. So yes, again, this is will be a letter opposing the actions that PowerTech wants to take for using water from our aquifers. And we'll get some of our best minds working on what that language should say. And we'll get a letter off to the Water Resource Board. Council have any other?
So when do you want me at that meeting?
We'll start after executive session tonight. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
The resolution passes. New business
You
item.
guys gave out those phone numbers, didn't you? You gave out those phone numbers like we talked about at the meeting, right? Oh, complaint daily.
All right, new business item A, possible motion discussion to reject 2 bids.
I'll make a motion to reject the 2 bids received on the RFP 2021-5 Butler Park softball field fence replacement project. Number 1, Garrett Fencing, New Underwood, South Dakota for $50,256. And number 2, La Creek Development, Martin, South Dakota for $57,355.66. the bids received exceeded the 2021 budget allocations.
Second motion.
Discussion? So as stated in the motion, the bids came in and we were expecting somewhere $20,000 to $23,000 for the fence. So this far exceeded any of the money that you set aside to have the fence work done this year.
Is that money going to remain set aside and that we can maybe add to it with next year's budget?
Yeah, if it's not expended, it certainly carries over into the new year. It doesn't mean it automatically goes towards that. It's something that you could decide what you want to do with it, where you want to propose spending it. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item B, a possible motion to discussion to set a special meeting on Thursday, June 10th.
Make a motion to discuss or vote on the set special meeting on Thursday, June 10th at 9 a.m. at the Mueller Civic Center. The canvass 2021 municipal election and declare results by resolution.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item C, a possible motion discussion to schedule the 2020 full audit readouts.
I'll make a motion to schedule the 2020 full audit readout and discussion on Monday, June 21st at 6 p.m. before the regularly scheduled council meeting.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? The motion passes. New business item D, a possible motion discussion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign agreement for professional services.
I would make a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign an agreement for professional services between the COHS and KLJ Engineering for airport project number AIP 3-46-020-015-2021. Construct multi-aircraft hangar building and site development at a maximum amount of $76,415.80.
Second. Discussion?
One question. On page 13 of 39, under the owner responsibilities, it lists Ivan Venner as the contact. Do we need to remove Ivan and just put the current airport manager as a position versus a name?
Suppose that would be appropriate. We didn't draft it, so we'll let the engineer.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. All right, for the next item on the agenda, I'm asking the council to table the item, and I'll explain why once we get in discussion, if we get a motion and a second on that.
Make a motion, we table item E.
Second.
All right. Eileen, you still with us? Can you come down front again? Do you have a copy of tonight's agenda in front of you?
Yes.
So what we're talking about is what you addressed the council, the motion that's P&Z put together. You had talked about meeting with them. We're not able to talk about the merits of the motion. What we're talking about is the process and the fact that regrettably, you've been involved in a process that we could have done better, and we need to back up and get it done right. What you're asking for is a setback variance to the property. And anytime a variance like that is done, Councilman Grimes had suggested that you talk with neighbors around to see how they feel about it. And that step is necessary, but the way that we asked you to do it is not the right way to do it. The right way to do it is to identify who those property owners are within a 200-foot radius of your property and actually send them certified letters. And then it ends up getting a notice is published that it will go back in front of P and Z again. So again, it's not the merits that we need to get correct here. It's the process. And if we don't do it right this time, then we set the council up for the next time somebody wants to do it. They could say, well, you allowed Eileen to do it this way. Why can't I do it this way? So I understand if you're frustrated, upset, angered, but I hope you understand the need for us to do it right and, to set the standard going forward. So that's what we're asking them to do, is to table it and then have you go back and work with Scott again, just as though you had never talked with him to begin with. And so he can, guide you into here's what you need to do. Here's the steps.
So you're saying that I need to send out certified letters to everyone that is within 200 feet after I've already just went around discussing with my neighbors with the.
Yes, I'm saying that the ordinance says that we have to do that. So again, Wes was, spot on as far as getting the opinion of the folks. We just didn't do it the right way. That needs to happen through certified letters. And the official variance process.
So this has to go, I have to go back to discuss this with Scott prior to this?
If the council.
What you're saying.
Yeah.
I need to discuss this with Scott, and then I would need to send out certified letters to everyone within 200 feet of my property. And then go back to zoning, go back, what's the process?
Okay.
All right.
Garland?
I may interject. So the process is to begin with an application, which includes, I believe it 200 feet. Then you give certified notice, certified mail notice to all your neighbors within 200 feet. That list will be provided to you by the city. On the application, the city will place a sign on your property concerning the variance. And there'll be a public hearing. Be started. Anybody have any complaints? Here's that public hearing. Legal notice, public newspaper. And finally, so you need to be Scott.
What I would like to say to everyone is that I've already filled out an application, and it wasn't $200, it was $50. And then I was instructed to go through this whole other process. And the reason why I had expressed my concern is that because the behavior at the zoning meeting, it really was inappropriate. I mean, in the way the questions and the things that were said to us were inappropriate. And I've already been to Scott, and now he's saying it's $200. Well, it was explained to me by Scott when I first went in there just to ask the question about this, was that it was $50 that you just wrote down what you're willing to do.
It was a building permit.
Excuse me?
The $50 was a building permit.
So what is this being considered? This is a temporary structure.
Setback variance.
So this is for a setback variance.
The variance costs $200. And then the certified letters cost some money too.
How many
And that's
neighbors do you have?
Excuse me?
How many neighbors do you have that would be affected?
Well, I'm going to guess if you say 200 feet, if the property is 150 feet, it would be the people across from me. people right next to me. There's the food store, which that's Lynn's. That's the whole other side of the street. There's a neighbor right next to me, the neighbor right behind me, because you figure if it's 100 feet, like, is it from the property corner?
100 feet out.
Okay, well, you say each side, but does that mean, okay, here's the square. Is it 200 feet? Is it 200 feet? Like, what is the corner? Just the back or from the whole perimeter of the property?
200 circumference.
Scott will help you with that, but when I spoke, Scott will help you with that, but when I spoke with him this morning, my understanding of that question is it's from the 4 property corners.
Okay, so it's coming out from around. So you figure, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6, maybe. When I went around with the petition that I was asked to go and talk to my neighbors about, I had spoken to everybody except for the people that live behind me because I hadn't seen them. And the one gentleman is back now from California, but nobody had any problem with it. So.
Didn't planning and zoning have kind of a special meeting on this topic?
Not a special meeting, no.
But this was at their last meeting.
Yes.
So why didn't they inform her, I guess, about all this? I was led to believe that being this was going to be a disabilities act, it would kind of not even have to deal with any of our ordinances or anything. So I guess why didn't Scott tell her at that time then, if he knew that this wasn't the right way to do it, then why didn't he tell her she had to do all this?
That's a good question.
And I feel that's a good question myself also, because I've been to zoning and planning already twice, and I wish their meetings were taped. I really do. And you could watch the video of what had occurred at the meeting. And nothing like that was ever explained to me. And it was my understanding, because this is an issue that pertains to a person with a disability, which is a civil rights issue, is that a variance had nothing to do with it because that has to do with a permanent structure. And up until this point, that's what I'm saying. This has been going on since March, that I have been asking questions, that I have been attending meetings, that I have been attempting. And I do agree with what you're saying. Why wasn't this explained to me already from the very beginning? Because that's what I said. This is the only reason why we need this, because of in the inclement weather and with the traffic there, it's safer for my mother. And I don't want to have to get into that because it's not appropriate to be discussing disabilities at, at a meeting like this. And it wasn't, nothing was explained to me. It was just my understanding that variance only had to do with permanent structures. And that, if your neighbors agreed or that, then I would come to this meeting. This is the 4th meeting that I've been to.
To me, I just get the impression that our planning and zoning committee is not taking into consideration the disability needs of our community. That's what I'm getting the impression of.
Garland, you had something you wanted to say, and then I'll respond to some of Eileen's comments.
So, I put out a demo assuming how the ADA applies to zoning and our land use ordinance. It's a certain test. And I laid that out. I think provided that in planning and zoning. So maybe this is hard. For something variances usually are.
Garland? Because we're streaming the meeting, could you come up to the microphone and share that so the public can hear everything that you're saying, please?
Well, with our various zoning and land use ordinances, the ADA does apply. And in looking at that, there's like certain tests that we would use to see how that would apply, how the ADA would apply to a specific zoning ordinance. In this case, it's a setback provision. So I provided the mayor a pretty good memo explaining how that test works and how we should apply it moving forward. I don't have it memorized off the top of my head.
The council has that copy that you sent?
Yep.
That was the one you referred to, but for this, correct?
Yes, correct. So moving forward, that's how we should apply. If there's any ADA requests concerning our zoning or any land use issues, we should use that memo in applying those tests for each situation.
And I'm not taking sides with her. I'm just saying because I do drive a bus, I have seen numerous things that are associated with this that need to be rectified in our community is what I believe.
Can you explain to me what it is? I mean, everyone here doesn't understand what is it referring to.
Can you step up to the microphone so we can hear your question?
Yeah, I was just asking if you would please explain what he was referring to, because evidently everyone here is aware of what he is speaking of, but I would like to have a clear understanding of what he's referring to.
Well, like I said, I don't have it memorized because so many other things going on. But there's a series, the statutes and the case law have come up with like a series of tests to see if a disabled person's request would be okay to modify a zoning ordinance, or in this case, a setback provision. Like I said, I just don't have it memorized off the top of my head. But
when you refer to test, what is it? What are you referring to?
I can't hear you.
When he's referring to a test, okay, there's test. Well, what does test entail? Like, that's what I need clarification on when you're referring, hey, they're test. Well, what are you speaking of?
As I said, I don't have it memorized. So
My thing is, in the last couple of years, I've seen more fences built right up to the back of the curb stop, which is illegal. I have seen people not pave parking lots. Per our ordinance, it clearly states how it is to be done. And for some reason, it looks to me like this planning and zoning, they just they pick and choose. And I have a hard time telling someone that they can't build a simple carport 2 feet into their setback on the 25-foot setback. I understand we have ordinances for a reason, but we pick and choose which ones we decide to follow. And
I think the Planning and Zoning Commission kind of sent this back to us based on what Garland wrote. So they're leaving it up to the council to make the decision.
Well, then at that time,
Based on
they should have
that.
told her what she had to do instead
They
of
told
dragging her
her-
time out.
They told her to come back here to get our decision based on what Garland wrote, if I remember correctly.
I personally have a problem with it, but I just feel like that you're right, Wes. Why is she getting a runaround? I mean, it should have been clarified to her at that time. And here she is standing back up in front of us again, wanting something done for her mother. I think that's very admirable. So why are we jacking around with this, honestly?
I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think there's a jack around going here. I do believe when it first came out, there may have been some confusion on exactly what this is called. Is it a setback variance? What is it? And finally, I think the final decision or what makes sense or made sense was that it is a setback variance. And in doing so, there are certain guidelines they have to follow to get that approval. That goes along with the certified letters going out, and there's a barrage of things there that need to be done. So I don't think it's a runaround. I'm sorry it's taken as long as it has. I feel sorry for the position you're in. But what I do think that needs to happen is it needs to be done right.
Exactly.
And we're not, and it had not been done right. This is a setback variance, in my opinion, and should be treated as such.
So about
But
4 or
see-
5 years ago, the council asked the Planning and Zoning Board to start thinking about changing that ordinance, because what does a carport in that setback hurt? You have visibility under it, it hurts nothing. Like I said, there's fences built right to the curb line that you can't see around. How did they fall through the cracks?
All right.
if I may, we kind of had this discussion earlier. I think we got to kind of rein in where we're going on this motion because we're getting into like the merits of her request, where we're simply stating that the process has been incorrect and that's on, that's kind of on the city's fault. And kind of as JR said, they didn't know where to fit this into place. And they finally figured out, okay, this is where it fits. You have, our ordinance, our procedure for that. And so getting back to basically the substance of the current motion on the floor, as far as tabling this, we shouldn't be getting into the merits of the issue. That'll be down the road. This is simply discussing the process, which is, this is a variance for a setback. And we can't approve it today because it's not done procedurally correct. So we have to go back and do it by procedure.
See, my concern is in dealing with a person with a disability and someone who is an elderly person, should someone constantly have to go through this process here? I mean, suppose this comes up again. If this issue comes up again, is the person going to have to go through the same process? And it was my understanding is that when a person has a disability, especially that it's an obvious disability, that the accommodations for them can be made without having, and they can be adjusted without having to go through a huge process for this. That, I mean, and I understand that there's nothing right now, and it's kind of obvious that is in writing, and I've looked through everything, even when this began, that was my first comment, was that there's absolutely nothing in the ordinances. And if you look over all of the documents, there's nothing that makes a reference to a person with a disability. And now that I've been going through this process, I think that it's very important for people to address people with disabilities. I mean, there's loads of people that are veterans that are disabilities. And this is a very stressful situation for someone to go through. And I'm glad that I'm here for my mother to do this. Because is this going to be the process every time? And what if someone can't afford $200 and all the certified letters just to get a variance when it's a matter of 2 feet? There should be some kind of, I believe, some kind of an ordinance with all of the ones that I've read about, from everything from the pool to the golf club to everything else, that just says that, when a person has a disability and an obvious disability, that this is something to accommodate them that can be done with a certain amount of time. And then when it's over, it's, it can be over and done with. But at this point, and I do agree with US, is that there should be something, and this is a long process, 200 and then 50, another $200, then to pay for the certified letters and go through all this. And it's like, where's the accommodation for someone who has a disability?
All right.
And I still would kind of like to, I'm still asking about the answer, about what specifications are.
Kind of outside the scope of the motion.
Yeah, as you said, discussing the merits, but I do need to say, I think the P&Z is being unfairly characterized as insensitive to this. I was at the meeting. I had mentioned to Eileen that as she was talking about ADA accommodations, that it was a very uncomfortable question for me to ask. But because you were saying that your mother is, disabled and recognized under ADA. I just needed to confirm that since you were representing that, is that okay? I didn't think that was an unfair question. It was an uncomfortable question. And it was a question that needed to be asked on behalf of the city. The chair of P&Z started out the meeting by saying, I don't think we have anything in our ordinances that allow this. Started having that conversation. And then as it moved to ADA accommodations, it became very uncomfortable for the group to have that discussion, recognizing, again, not the merit of it, that it certainly is, there is merit in approving it, but the process wasn't being followed. And they worked very hard to put together the language that is in front of council tonight. And I agreed to put it on the agenda so that we could have the open discussion so the council could understand where we've stubbed our toe. But to Wes's point, if he's correctly said that sometimes councils will pick and choose, what ground they want to stand on. Well, if we don't begin following the proper procedure, then we've done the same thing. We've picked and choose which ones do we want to do. So at some point we have to say, no, let's slow this down. Let's go back to the beginning and let's do this right. It's regrettable, but that's the right thing to do for this case, and it's the right thing to do going forward. So that's the motion in front of council. That's what I wanted to share with you, why it's here, why we wanted to have the discussion, and why I made the motion to table it and start anew and get this done right. So that's the motion in front of you. Are there any other questions from council?
I have a comment though, and I do understand it. I know you were at the meeting. I'm sorry to have you sigh here, but the bottom line is I don't want to feel, and I don't think anyone should feel attacked by some of the comments. Yes, I understand what we were discussing, but there were some comments from some people at the meeting that were, as far as I'm concerned, and my mom and another friend of it have been there, that were inappropriate. It was like, you don't want to feel attacked by somebody because of all these little quirky things. I mean, how many times did I say, I don't want to argue, please don't argue with me. That's not the point we're at. There were a number of things, and I don't want to get into that right now, but there were a number of things, and you were at that meeting, so it was like an attack. And it was a lot of things were referred to, and I was trying to keep to the actual topic of what our concern was. And that is, the issue is that because my mom has a disability, and that is why. And I understand having to go back, and I understand what you're saying, to have a discussion on this further. But I think that this is something that needs to be remedied without, there needs to be something that helps people with disabilities.
Are you at this point willing to do what's been suggested to you now, that we want to get our ducks in a row? Are you willing to work with us and let's get this rectified?
I'm willing to work with you to get this rectified so that someone else doesn't have to go through the same
Okay.
situation. The only thing that I have a little bit of a concern about is having to put out $200 and then have to pay for all the certified letters and everything else. It's like, all right, how much is that going to cost to put up a temporary carport? But I do agree that I do want to work with you guys, because I do think that this is an area that needs to be addressed.
Well, there were two other council members at that meeting, and I respectfully disagree that you were attacked. I never had the sense that tough questions were intended to be attacked. So you have a motion?
I agree as well. I don't feel there was a personal attack towards you. I feel that, in my opinion, only, this should have been handled correctly from the beginning. It was missed, and it's gone through a couple of different hoops. This is the right way now for us to go forward. And I think we need to vote on that and go forward with this.
So council, you have a motion in front of you to table new business item E. Misty, would you call the roll, please?
David Burris,
Yes.
Wes Grimes,
No.
J.R. Huddleston,
Yes.
Deborah Johnston,
No.
Bill Lukens,
Yes.
Larry Pratt,
Abstain.
Craig Romy,
No.
Caitlin Turner.
Yes.
So we have 3 noes, 4 yeses. The motion to table passes. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I need to go to Scott now.
We go back to Scott. We had that discussion today. He assured me that he has all the necessary paperwork and all the steps to get this done right going forward.
Right, and at that time, will he have the information that I'm asking you about, that he can explain to me what it is instead of in a group like this, or?
So new business item F.
Can I say something, please?
Yes.
Ms. Olinger. She's not paying attention. It's situations like this that actually show us where we're falling apart, even though in her case, is, I'm sure, a major frustration. But I really think it needs to be done right. This is why we get into lawsuits and all of those things, because we think if we just skip something, that it's going to be okay. Later on down the road, it becomes an issue. And what could have cost $20 ends up costing us thousands of dollars to rectify. So I know she probably doesn't want to hear this, but I'm very happy that her situation brought this up so we can get some of our stuff straightened out right. So from the next person that comes up, the situation is more streamlined and all the hoops and all the time she's invested in just this small thing. That's all I want to say.
Anyone else?
Add that it's unchanged. It's been written in our ordinance and also in statute. So it is spelled out, the steps, and it's not new.
No, I know it's not new, but this problem is new because we have somebody that did not have the information from the get-go. Doesn't sound like it.
New business item F, a possible motion discussion to approve Jennings Bridge structure replacement contract change.
Make a motion to approve Jennings Bridge Structure Replacement Contract Change Order Number 3 for Project VRO 8024, parentheses 00, parentheses 18-1, PCN 06 VF for a negative $2,991.70, which is a reduction of the final quantities of $4,741.70, and the addition of fabrication of reset steel railings of $1,750.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item G, a possible motion discussion to schedule a public hearing.
Make a motion to schedule a public hearing on 6/21/21 at 7:20 PM to discuss ordinance number 1231, a temporary ordinance regarding the issuance of local medical cannabis establishment permits and/or licenses.
Second motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
I got a question real quick. I guess I'm a little confused. The state hasn't really ruled that you can sell marijuana yet, have they?
That's exactly what this ordinance does, is waits till they promulgate the rules. And it's medical marijuana only, and that has been approved at the
Okay,
state
so
level.
it's just for the medical.
Yes.
That's not in here, so that's why.
That's the medical.
Okay, and the ordinances probably says medical. Okay.
It says local medical. Okay.
Oh, it does down at the bottom. It does too. Okay.
Any other questions?
In essence, we're just waiting for the state to give us more guidance because we really can't act and create ordinances without what they're going to require. So we're having to temporarily put this off until we get more info from the state.
Let them do the bulk of the legwork. You look like you want to say something.
No, I don't.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item H, a possible motion discussion to schedule a public hearing.
Make a motion to schedule a public hearing on June 21st, 2021 at 7:40 PM to amend Title 15 Land Usage, Chapter 155 Zoning Code, adding RV parks and campgrounds to the list of permitted uses within Highway Service District.
Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item I, a possible motion discussion to set a public hearing.
Make a motion to set a public hearing on 6/21/21 at 7:50 PM for the proposed resolution of necessity for the assessment of properties located within the proposed Martin Street Water and Sanitary Sewer Improvement District.
Second.
Discussion? So for the council, this has been kicked around in Public Works. And there's some folks up there that want to put homes in and they wanted to use septic systems. And it's the opinion of public safety that where we're able to, we need to have new construction tie into existing sewers or city sewer systems and not add more septic systems where we don't need to. And the property owners are on board with that, so they'll be asking the city to put that sewer assessment district in.
You said that was from public safety or public works?
Well, if I said public safety, I meant to say public works.
Okay.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. New business item J, a possible motion discussion to authorize the designation of 3 specific areas for temporary RV parking.
Make a motion to authorize the designation of three specific areas for temporary RV
Larry,
parking. Yes.
can you get a little more up close and personal with your microphone?
Hello.
There you go.
Where we, I make a motion to authorize the designation of three specific areas for temporary RV parking during the Main Street Arts and Crafts Festival 6/25/27/2021 to be located along the west side of South River Street between Jennings and Albany Avenue and at lots 329, 333, and 345 at east side of North River Street.
Second.
Discussion?
I just want to say that we did have the representatives attend public safety and at the last meeting, and they presented their proposal, and public safety concurs with their request.
Greg?
Because Garland is here, Greg Faust, 941 Houston Avenue. Because Garland is here, I want to make sure that the motion is amended to remove the designation in the third line of item J of South River Street. Jennings and Albany are north and south of University. So the S in that sentence will invalidate this motion.
South.
At the first, the first of the third line. River Street extends from, what we're asking for is between Albany on the south side and Jennings on the north side. So I believe that taking the S out clarifies whether it's north or south. It's between Albany and Jennings only.
So then it should read along the west side of River Street between Jennings and Albany Avenue?
That's correct.
Okay. Everyone get that?
Got it.
Yes.
Anything else you'd like to add? Council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes.
We'll see how it goes.
Thank you. New business item K, a possible motion discussion to approve an automatic budget supplement.
Make a motion to approve an automatic budget supplement of $10,106.70 to the additional sales tax fund 212-21200-42200 for preliminary design engineering for airport multi-unit T-hanger project. Reimbursement revenue received from AIP grant funding number 3-46-0022-013-2020.
Second.
Discussion?
So that full amount will be reimbursed by their grant they're giving us.
We've already received reimbursement. You approved the payment already. Once I receive reimbursement, you do the automatic budget supplement.
Okay.
I'm glad you can keep all that straight.
It's a lot right now.
Jeez.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item L, possible motion discussion to approve an automatic budget supplement.
Make a motion to approve an automatic budget supplement of $1,312 to the additional sales tax fund 212-21200-42200 for Jennings Bridge Replacement Construction Management. Reimbursement revenue received from the big grant funding PCN 06VF.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item M. Motion, a possible motion discussion to approve the South Dakota Department of Transportation permits.
Make the motion to approve the South Dakota DOT permit to occupy right of way for RCS Construction Company at 717 North River Street for a demolition of the Welsh Oak Building beginning 6/2/21 for the maximum of 6 weeks.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Committee reports. We'll go on to airport advisory. Bill?
Okay, the Airport Advisory Committee met on Thursday, May 27th at the airport at 8 a.m. Members present were Larry Vetterman, Ed Jensen, John O'Connell, Don Connor, Petra Wilson, and Shane Mueller. City employees present were Ivan Venner and Tracy Bastian. Elected officials present were Mayor Nelson and myself. Under old business, the land lease contract with South Dakota Wildland Fire for the Seaplane Base has been approved by council and was forwarded to South Dakota Wildland Fire for their approval. The committee was informed that the low bid for the 10-unit T-hanger was accepted by council at the May 17th council meeting. Shane Miller provided an update on the planning for the Kids Aviation Day activities that was scheduled for June 5th. And just want to add that that event turned out very, very well. The weather cooperated. We had kicked off the day with 6 balloons. It's early in the morning, followed by about 15 young people in the flower bombing competition. And former Councilman Marty Meyer's son won the competition again with his drop just a little over 5 feet from the target, which was very good. And they finished up with a ping pong ball drop. And so overall, it was a very successful day. Petra provided an update on the balloon festival activities planned for August 27th through the 29th. And I gave the committee an update on the private hangar lease agreement work. The subcommittee working as part of the Airport Advisory Committee has done its final work and has forwarded that on to Admin Finance for their review and revision. Under new business, in May, for landings and fuel sales, we had 40-plus flight operations, sold 955 gallons of aviation fuel. Mayor Nelson updated the committee on efforts to replace the airport manager position. At the time of the meeting, we had an interview scheduled. One interview had been scheduled for May 26th, and another interview was conducted later that day on the 27th, and you approved the action for the successful candidate tonight. Chairman Larry Vetterman expressed the committee's appreciation of Ivan Venner's work and service at the airport over the past year. The committee discussed project priorities going forward since the T hangar project has now been approved. The committee recommends that once FAA entitlement funds are available again, that the highest priority for the airport is to replace the AWAS system with an upgraded system that will allow for instrumented flight rule landings, as this is one item will allow for more use at the airport. We made some minor changes to the Airport Advisory Committee charter. Those were reviewed with the committee. The changes include compiling and sending the meeting agenda to City Hall for posting at least 24 hours in advance of the meeting, and adding a deliverable to the charter which states that the committee will provide recommendations to the council regarding hangar rental rates and private hangar land lease rates. In order to be able to report on full month flight operations and fuel sales, the committee decided to move the meeting to the first Thursday of each month. So we will not be having a meeting in June, but our next meeting will be Thursday, July 1st at 8 a.m. at the airport, and our meeting adjourned at 9:40 a.m.
Any questions for Bill? Thank you, Bill. Custer Fall River Regional Waste Management, Larry?
Next meeting of the Custer Fall River Regional Waste Management District will be July 8th at 7 p.m. at the Mueller Center.
Thank you. Historic Preservation, Deborah?
I'm going to have to defer till the next council meeting. I have not received the minutes from our last meeting last Wednesday.
All right.
The next meeting is the first Wednesday of July at 5 p.m. here at the Mueller Center.
Thank you. Evans Plunge Advisory, Larry?
Next meeting will be this Thursday, the 10th at noon, at 12 noon at the Plunge.
Thank you. Parks, Recreation, Wes?
We had a meeting last Wednesday. We heard from Lori that we're actually today, they were supposed to start putting a fence up there between us and the quarry. We're paying about half and the quarry's paying about half. Lori told us, I guess they had one of the smallest crews they've ever had for mowing and weed eating before this Memorial Day event, but it all still went very well. We heard from May. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. What? Victor. She is the goat lady that grazes. She is pretty upset with us. Where we put the topsoil and planted the wildflowers out at the School Street Park. I guess that was kind of in her flight plan or her goat grazing area. I don't know. I still think it was the right thing to do, but there's still a lot of grazing area. Jesse Nas come and talk to us about putting in as a kids practice field at Butler Park. And the baseball has really taken off again this year. They've got a lot of participation. We decided not to do a chain link fence tonight. The bids were a little bit higher than we thought was going to come in. Stockville Parks, I guess we're still got a little work to do on that spring vault. We talked about Centennial Park. Heinert is, I guess, finishing up his project. We discussed the damage to the grassed areas and talked about a plan for fixing them up. And Dietzler And the Jennings Bridge landscape on the corner, I believe that is done. And Brookside Park, we still got some trees we gotta get trimmed up for the duck race. Discussed a little bit of a cleanup there at the swimming area. And the Mueller skylight, I think, is supposed to be installed the third week of June. So I guess hopefully we'll get that done. And we talked about bids for geothermal system, and we're still waiting on more bids for the circulation pump for here at the Mueller Center. So we don't have a cold season like last year. And the depot, we got some bids for the air conditioner. I believe we're still going through them. We're still waiting on a few, I don't remember, what was the deal there, John? We're still accepting some, or we?
It wasn't allocated in this budget, so it'll be on the next budget unless we decide that it's needed and appropriated otherwise.
Okay, so I guess you guys will deal with that later on. How about that bathroom improvement, that ADA situation? We did change out the toilet, didn't we?
We got the toilet changed out. We're still trying to work out how to do the handicap bar without everything tiled.
Okay, that's about it, I guess. I don't know when your next meeting will be. It was on the first Wednesday of every month. That'll be to be determined by the next person on the Parks and Rec Committee.
Any questions for Les?
Just a comment, if I can, on the cemetery. They did a wonderful job. It was beautiful. And the areas that I went to place flowers, it was absolutely phenomenal. So they did a great job. Thank them, please.
Yeah, they were pretty short-staffed.
Thank you, Wes.
Mm-hmm.
Planning and zoning, Sharon?
Planning and zoning met on May 19th at 7 PM here at the Mueller Center. Present was Don Alstead, Allison Bitterbush, Joni Hill, Deborah Johnston, James Forward, Dwight Wienia, John Puddleston, Scott Stogie. Absent, Heidebrink, Preheim, and Hageman. Staff present, Mayor Bob Nelson, Administrative Assistant Carrie Pyle. Agenda was moved and set and approved. Minutes were moved and approved with no additions or corrections. Mayor Nelson requested moving item 6 of the new business in the agenda to item 1. City of Hot Springs open meeting procedure discussion 5/7/21. Letter from GL Goff, attorney at law, regarding open meeting laws in the City of Hot Springs committees and commissions. Special attention given to publishing the meeting agenda 24 hours before the meeting. Scott Sogi suggested the cutoff time for the agenda items be the Wednesday before the monthly meeting, so the 24-hour required notification is published in a timely manner. Don Ofsted requested moving to item 1 of old business. Eileen Oliger, setback request, moved by Allison Ritterbush, seconded by Joni Hill, to make recommendation to council at 6/9/21 meeting at the request by Ms. Eileen Oliger for a carport be approved for temporary life of use permit needed by current resident Pat Oliger to be removed when no longer needed by said resident. New business paving ordinance requirements. Local business owner Kara Hagan attended the meeting to discuss what surface would need to be applied to additional parking spaces across the street from her establishment. It was determined to be overflow parking, and the requirements are satisfied by off-street parking ordinance 155.049B. Suggestion was for future overflow parking spaces need to have approaches hard surfaced. Covenants, Border Falls Business Park setback. Discussion regarding ordinances and covenants pertaining to properties in the Boulder Falls Business Park determined that the city ordinances would override covenants. It's a bit lengthy. Main Street Sewer Water Development Update, discussion regarding a standalone garage built on property must leave room for residents to be built, but there is no time limit. Washington Street alley vacating, WIT, discussion for alley west of 23rd Street stops at the property line. The applicant wants the alley to be extended so as to give them access to their property. They were referred to the council member. Old business, additional living ADUs. Ongoing discussion regarding options for the city-sponsored housing and taxes, TF involved. Annexation, ongoing discussion with reference to the 3-mile limit and plating. Adjournment, motion to adjourn at 8:55 by 4 board, seconded by Allison Ridbush.
Any questions for JR?
I got one of that 3-mile radius. So there's discussion about annexation again.
There's not been any discussion about annexation. It's been moved and moved and moved. No discussion.
Okay.
Anything else? Thank you, JR. Caitlin, Admin Finance.
Nope.
Admin Finance met today at 1 p.m. at the Mueller Civic Center. We discussed a request from the Recreation Director to create a new Recreation Assistant Director position. So you will probably be hearing that at the next council meeting. The position would run from the beginning of May through the end of July. So for right now, if we hired someone, it would be until July 29th. This position would provide some relief to Kathy's position and would do a lot of clerical work for her specifically. She's working on a job description and some more details. Her thought is that her position is for 790 hours, and whatever hours she needs for the assistant director position would come out of her hours, is her thought on that. So she's not asking for additional hours, and the new person coming in would be paid at a lower rate, so it would theoretically be cheaper. So you'll have that coming on one of the future agendas. We discussed changing the time of the council meetings to 6 p.m. It is the recommendation of the Admin Finance Committee to wait for the new council to take seat, and we'll have the first reading of the updated ordinance changing council meetings to 6 p.m. at the first meeting in July. This way, the new council coming in that will have to attend those meetings can have a voice in whether or not they vote to approve that change. John informed us about salvage asphalt materials from the DOT highway reconstruction. We'll be getting a good deal on those. It costs $3 per ton for a total of 47,000. And after us, it'd be offered about $10 per ton. So that's a cost savings there. Our next meeting, I lost it. Bear with me. It is the 6th of July at 1 p.m. at the Mueller Civic Center.
Didn't you need to change that meeting? 12? I thought you requested to change it.
Misty and John is right. The next admin finance is July 12th at 1 p.m.
Any questions for Caitlin? Thank you, Caitlin.
Thank you.
Public Safety, Bill, JR.
Bill, I'll take this. Thank you. Public Safety had a meeting Wednesday, May 19th at 1 p.m. here at the Mueller Center. Attendees are Mayor Bob Nelson, Alderman Bill Lukens, Alderman J.R. Huddleston, Alderwoman Deborah Johnson, City Administrator John Gregory, Chief Mike Close, Greg Faust, and Bobby Ladner. PD update from Chief Close discussed the enforcement enhancement meeting that was held on May 18th. Applications have been received for open officer positions. Interviews began the week of May 24th. School is out as long, and along with that, there's typical increase in juvenile related calls. The new vehicle's in, it will start the process of outfitting and marking it. Some electronic issues that are being experienced with some of the vehicles. Mayor suggested getting an estimate from Suntech and Rapid to diagnose and correct the problems. Chief Close inquired about possibility of hiring part-time certified officers to help fill the schedule during a time such as this when we're down 1 to 2 officers. After discussion, the committee determined this would be a good way to address the need and requested a special council meeting on May 24th to seek approval for a part-time certified officer position within the PD. Chief Close was asked that if the price was acceptable, would it work for the PD to fuel their vehicles at the local commercial provider instead of the county shop? He indicated that would actually be more convenient for the officers. In addition, the department responded to 495 calls. Old business, 2021 regarding security at City Hall front desk. The lockable gate at the south end of the front desk has been installed and the panic button for the PD is being ordered. 2038, the committee discussed the temporary medical marijuana ordinance and timeline for enacting that subsequent to the public safety meeting. The required hearings were set and the first reading is set for June 21, the second reading for July 6. Assuming passage of the ordinance, it will be published and go into effect July 8th. The committee also reviewed some of the specifics of the draft medical marijuana ordinance that will define the licensing, the zoning, days and hours of operations. This will be finalized after guidance from the state has been received. 21-06 signs restricting access will be placed at the exit points to the stairs to the Episcopal Church. Wording will be aligned with recommendations from our insurance provider. 2103, no update on traffic sign study. New business, Greg Faust and Bobby Ladner presented the Main Street Arts and Crafts Festival. Representing them were present to request temporary designated RV parking during the festival June 25 through 27, 2021. The needs, benefits, and specific requests were discussed and supported by the committee and recommended that Greg and Bobby be present at the June 7 council meeting when a motion for the destination parking would be put before the council. Committee discussed the request for and recommends the installation of public parking signs on the west side of Chicago Street, north of Jennings Avenue. A business owner had also asked about designating an open area west of the post office and H&R Block as public parking. But since that is private property, no action can be taken. City administrator informed the committee that 4 of 6 current family daycare providers have responded with applications as required by the revised ordinance. Certified letters will be sent to 2 providers that have not submitted their required applications. Committee discussed and the requested Mueller Center usage contract by South Dakota Wildland Fire and suggest charging 2 to 8 hour fee, 2 to 8 hour fees for each space used during the 24-hour period. City administrator with work on the contract to be reviewed by the Admin Finance Committee. There have been numerous questions and instances of camping in parks and parking lots. Our current ordinances prohibit that. To help communicate that restriction, the committee recommends replacing the signs prohibiting overnight parking and have the PD continue to enforce the ordinance. The committee reviewed the open meeting law letter provided by the city attorney. In response to the letter, the committee chair will continue to document and provide the finance officer the minutes of the meetings. Additionally, the chair will comply with the meeting agenda and provide a copy that placed on the city website and posted at City Hall 24 hours in advance of the meeting. In other business, a member of the public inquired about a light at a commercial property that was directed into private residences behind the commercial property. City administrator took action to discuss the issue with the business. Meeting ended at 3:25 p.m. The next meeting will be Wednesday, June 16th, 1 p.m. Mueller Center.
Any questions for JR and Bill?
I got one.
Thanks.
So on that PD request not to buy or get their fuel from the county shop, what was the decision?
It wasn't their request, Wes, that we were asking them if, would it work for them if we used a commercial provider? This came up in admin finance when, right now, our current contract with the county is that we pay 50% of any repairs that have to be made to that system. And we're looking at that contract right now because I don't believe we are a 50% user of that system.
But you realize that fuel is bid at a significantly lower cost.
Yeah, absolutely. We understand all of that. And so we're just looking at the options of if we can, our desire would be to have a better contract with the county that we pay, if we continue, that we pay a more appropriate share of any repair and maintenance cost with the fuel system. Because if we're only using, and I'm just going to make a guess, if we're only paying if we're only using, say, 5% of the fuel, then maybe we ought to be paying closer to 5% of the maintenance and repair costs on that system instead of 50%. And so if we were just looking at is there a cheaper way than the county? And we understand that, yeah, because the county gets the state bid fuel costs.
They bid it by transport load. It's not off the state bid. It's a bid.
And you're probably familiar with the one local provider and that's full retail price. And we understand that. We asked the question of how would it impact them if the source of the fuel changed. They didn't bring the question up. We brought it up to them.
Doesn't the city have a gas pump out Street Shop?
They do. I think the issue with this is the size of the tank.
Wouldn't it be more efficient in the long run to get a bigger tank and use that?
We also don't have software there for tracking the usage. It's expensive.
So what do we do now?
It's used by the street shop and they write it down if it's streets or street cleaning or snow removal is the only designation that they have to make.
Look and save a nickel. Do if we can.
Any other questions? Thank you, gentlemen. Public Works, Dave and Craig.
Want to do it, Craig?
Go ahead, Dave.
June 1st, we had our meeting here at 1 p.m. Here at the Mueller Center. Attendees were, boy, I hope I don't tear these names up. Ardith Golansky, Raji Learman, Brenda Gamench, Rodney Watts, Mayor Bob Nelson, Councilwoman Deb Johnston, Tracy Bastian, Greg Romy, John Gregory, Scott Sogi, and myself, David Burrows. First thing we touched on from Brenda was a request for a petition or a letter from the city to stop the power tech activities of getting permits and basically backdooring. I'm not going to read the whole thing because we'd be here for a couple of hours, but going on to Book Barn, the library requested at their cost from the Friends of the Library, an exhaust fan for the city building. That would be $1,275, and we approved that. And they also are going to get a quote to fix the garage door for the Book Barn. It has a seal that has gone out on, I think, both sides and down across the floor. And being they are books, we would like to keep that nice and dry. So we're looking for a quote on our next meeting to see where we're at on that. We had a discussion on the pedestrian crossing and yellow curb painting schedule. It'll be coming up third week in June as tentatively as of right now. We also, realignment of the 6th Street creates a pod island. Keep Hot Springs Beautiful has an interest in maintaining that with the city assistance. I'm not quite sure what part of the city assistance they'll be looking for, but that is ongoing. You heard it earlier on the cemetery fence and cleanup, so I won't really go into that. The Episcopal Church stairs. We were discussing either close the stairs just due to safety. Sounds like we're going to look at painting them yellow and possibly putting sign there until they're repaired for you enter and use at your own risk. There are spots on there that are need repair. Moving on. Fall River Channel, University to Jennings Bridge, and all that cleanup still going on. We have a new owner that requested if we could move some materials. He just moved into a house just off from the MRF. Asked us if we could kind of open up some of the area to his windows to his new home. So we worked with him and we're moving materials around. His actual request really was to remove the MRF, which I don't see happening. So yes, we worked with him and we're cleaning up a little bit so his view isn't so, in his eyes, bad. Alley regrade for Dakota and 15th Street. We're looking at next Wednesday, possibly, if things stay on schedule. And let's see. We have a few items in code enforcement. Everybody that takes a test for their license knows that parking backwards, parking on the wrong way on the streets, these things are, you can get cited for. So we are going to push a little harder on those. Hopefully that will work for us to start getting people to park presently. It is a problem, but hopefully we can get them to start parking properly. So that is, I guess, become an issue here lately. We discussed a few nuisances. Some are moving forward, some are moving, but very, very slowly. Also keep in mind that this week is free dump week, and that goes from the 7th to the 11th. No tires. And if you do take anything like a refrigerator or freezer, it does need to be evacuated and have the certification sticker on there before you take it down there. Otherwise, you'll be just taking it for a nice ride. We also discussed the DOT wanted an answer by July 1st. If the city would purchase the salvaged asphalt millings, and I do believe that was touched on earlier, and that is a definite yes. That saves us good money. Our next meeting will be on June the 15th here at the Mueller Center. And we are still working on our dog park, and they do have a GoFundMe page and stuff like that for either help or financially. We are still moving forward with that. It is still kind of a slow thing, but please, if you have any questions or want to get involved, please contact City Hall and they will direct you with one of the phone numbers to get a hold of me. That's it. Our next meeting, like I said, June 15th, 1 p.m. here at the Mueller Center. Please attend.
Great. Do you want to add anything?
Good job, Dave.
Thank you.
Council have any questions for him? Thank you, gentlemen. Southern Hills Economic, JR.
John, if you can help me out with some dates of some upcoming events with this Shedco.
Shedco has a event here in combination with Dakota Housing on the 16th of this month, beginning at 9 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Thank you, sir.
Takes us to the Golf Course Advisory Council. I asked Misty to include a printout in your info side of the packet regarding number 3 tee box relocation. I got a call from Kathy Mossett a couple of weeks ago. There are some interested buyers in lot GC-27. And they have asked, they don't want the cart path, the little loop that you see coming in from the kind of the middle of the drawing down towards the bottom of the drawing is a cart path that's on private property. I won't go into the history of how the cart path got there. Essentially, the city squatted on their property, and the prospective owners don't want it there anymore. So we need to get our cart path that never should have been there to begin with out of the way. So the request is to remove the cart path. And in talking with the advisory committee, there are 2 tee boxes on hole number 3. There's an upper tee box and a lower tee box. And what the Golf Course Advisory Committee is recommending is building a set of stairs to go from the top tee box down to the bottom tee box. It's the least expensive and the least intrusive. So that's the recommendation. That's what we'll be doing going forward. That was a special meeting that we had. Our next regularly scheduled meeting will be July 12th at City Hall at 5 p.m. That brings us to Misty.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, you received in your packets the financial reports through the 31st of May. Those include the standard reports, the year-to-date profit and loss summary, which on May 19th, we received approximately $537,000 as our first half property tax payments. But then I point out in this batch of claims at this meeting, you approved $537,000 in claims. So for the first time this year, our general fund is out of the red in the gain and loss, but we are going to be posting these payments. Of course, they won't all come out of the general fund, but you may see it a little red on the next one too. I would also point out that the municipal sales tax collection in total is up 66,000 or 10% year to date. And the increase is in both general sales tax and gross receipt tax collections. The other reports are the fund summary report, shows you how we're doing compared to our budget. The cash balance reports includes current cash balances in our Wells Fargo, which is our main checking, and our Bank of the West checking accounts by fund. And then the investment report shows by institution and investment type, including all of the cash assets of the cities. I also have a report on the certificates of deposit the city has. Our cemetery perpetual care restricted amount at South Dakota Fit has matured, and similar to our Evans Plunge debt service reserve, it's just sitting in a liquid account there. We also have a water CD maturing June 30th. Rates on CDs have not improved. I just visited with some banks last week. Maybe by June 30th, something will be interesting, but I will keep you apprised of those and make good recommendations to the council, although I wouldn't recommend locking in for any longer term during these poor rate seasons. I'll talk a little bit about the combined municipal and school board election. Election day is tomorrow. Polls are open here at the Mueller Center, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We did have our election worker training here on Friday, the 28th at 4 p.m. We had 3 of the 4 election board members in attendance. I facilitated this training using the guide provided by the South Dakota Secretary of State's office with the support of Wendy Bilbrook, the school business manager. We've both been very busy with all things election related, even though we just have one race and they just have one race, all the same things and guidelines need to be followed for elections. So it's been pretty busy. Absentee voting has been going on at City Hall since the 24th. I just once again want to thank the election workers for their willingness to serve in this capacity. They're truly serving as gatekeepers to our democracy. So if you come in and see them tomorrow to vote, make sure you thank them for the work that they're doing. Provided you an update on our Banyan time tracking module. I wish the rollout was going better, but we are still working with the programmers to correct bugs, glitches, and also developing the program to ensure that what we roll out to our various departments and team members makes the entire timekeeping, time card review, approval, and submission process easier and not harder. I'm willing to review where we're at and what we've come up with. Anyone who's interested in further information, and I'll keep you updated as we roll out more locations. The 2020 audit report and financial statements are almost finished, and we're planning for an informal complete readout at 6 p.m. You approved that tonight. That'll be before the regularly scheduled council meeting. Once again, Tracy Hansen from Cato will provide you that readout, and then she'll stay and give a brief summary of the report and their findings during the regularly scheduled council meeting. It's my goal to get you drafts prior to the meeting. There's a lot of information and you to have the opportunity to review it in its entirety and come prepared if necessary with any questions you have for Tracy. I received and forwarded to each of you the notice from Black Hills Energy that we received as a city, and many of you users of their service also received. Due to the cold February, there is a new line item expense that was approved by the PUC to last for 12 months, beginning June 1st. Of this year and ending May 31st of next year. They're estimating an 11% increase in the cost of energy for all users, and for the city, that equates to $28,000 to $32,000 in additional expenses. So it's something that you need to have on your radar because we'll be talking about it as we pay those bills. As a heads up, during the next meeting, you'll be presented with the first contingency transfer resolution and supplemental appropriation ordinance for 2021. Contingency is budget authority already approved, but you can't spend directly out of it. So transfer to whatever general fund expense account is utilizing it is done by resolution according to law. Supplemental appropriations are additions to the budget. They require either the utilization of reserve funds, which we often call cash on hand, or are the result of added unplanned revenues like grants and or donations. You'll be asked to approve also the annual budgeted operating subsidy transfers from water and wastewater and solid waste to the general fund. I did summarize the donations we've received for the library summer reading program. I also sent out by email to all council members each one of those donation acceptance forms. I did receive 2 more today, so I'll be forwarding a couple more. There were 32 total as of today. A list of donors will be included in a thank you that will be published in the newspaper by the library. But if you get the opportunity, please take the time to thank these generous donors, and also be sure to recognize the hard work the library crew puts in to make this program as fun and as successful as it is. They contacted a lot of places, and a lot of places were generous donors for the program this year. It's hard to believe it's already been a year since we sent our ordinance revisions to American Legal in order to update our online code of ordinances. At this time, I have 12 ordinances that have been modified and need submitted. As a reminder, it's not automatically updated online when we make these revisions. It's a process that takes time and bears costs. So we decided to submit our updates annually. You'll see an expense for this supplement in the future. And we talked today at Admin Finance about maybe waiting a month or so as we had the second reading tonight for this ordinance, and we're talking about the time change for the meetings. We may wait until those are passed before we submit them all in a group. A number of us have registered for the upcoming budget training in Rapid City. It's a great training. It's hard to believe that we're already working on 2022's municipal budget, but lots of conversations are going on at the city. There is a lot of work that goes into budget preparations. And I kind of summarize all the different steps that we take. We're going to let the next council determine the dates for budget meetings, but preliminary dates proposed will be Tuesday, the 27th of July and Thursday, the 29th. The meetings typically start at 5 p.m. and can last several hours. If needed, we'll have time to plan additional meetings and still complete the budget by the deadline, which is the first meeting in September. I have a little bit of no real update on the CARES Act funding and the American Rescue Plan funding. My understanding is that the funds will come to the city through the state, but will not be based on reimbursable expenditures as was the case with the first round of CARES Act money we received. We do have until December 21st, 2024 to spend down the local fiscal recovery funds. I'll continue to update you as more information becomes available. If you're one of the council members leaving in July, please consider returning your handbook, the blue binder, to be recycled and reused by the new members. The handbook's typically $60, and it's definitely a vital tool to aid new officials in managing and conducting the affairs of the municipality. We'd be happy to take any other documents, plans, reports, or any other items that you'll no longer need. For those staying, thank you for your continuing commitment to serve your community in this way. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Any questions for the finance officer? Thank you, Misty. John, you're up.
Good evening, everyone. A lot going on as usual. That was the DOT a couple of times on the Highway 18 385 reconstruction. Contrary to rumors, we're still on schedule for a September bid letting. Continuing review of drawings, particularly the road profiles and utilities at the depot right now. Also a power option, how we're going to get power to that building in the future, sewer upgrade, and we did get a storm drain modification to keep water from going in the front door anymore. ISG and FMG, who are the city project coordinators, one with the state and one for us on the suspended sidewalk and the roadway section, put together the two plans in a marriage, so to speak, with the alignment, drainage, and the construction sequence. That will be part of the package that goes before the Federal Highway Administration for approval in the bid letting. Our streets maintenance, parks and utilities department has been busy. We have water line repairs and inspection and bracing. It's done by Diesel on Jennings Bridge. We observed the demonstration of 2 sewer inspection cameras, the cost of those systems, various options, and the selection of a product that we think is best fitted for our need. The wastewater treatment plant continues improvements. This time it was the screw press with an issue, also an updated flow meter, circulation pump, also in need of a little repair. These were in-house projects. The street department has been working on regrading and filling various alleys. This is an unimproved roadway sections following winter and spring rains. This work list continues. There are other alleys that are getting attention, and we'll continue to keep working at those each day we have available. Our streets and maintenance department also assisted the airport mowing with all the rain we've had, nice sunlight. The airport grass is growing quickly. You have to keep it mowed down around the lights and the runways at the airport. Our parks department is set up for multiple events in our parks and also at the airport for the youth fun day that we had this past weekend. We had a lot of city personnel items on the agenda tonight. I appreciate your approval of our library director, Peggy Exum, and our new airport manager, Rick Brettenbach. Excited to see them both coming on board. Peggy will be here around the 14th and Rick will be here about the 28th. We also continue to have openings, looking for full-time library clerks, full-time head lifeguard, part-time Evans Plunge employees at the desk, lifeguard and custodial positions. Still looking for a part-time mower to assist with parks and cemetery. Our development coordinator has been busy with code enforcement, a lot of new development in our city. There's a lot of new building projects in progress. It's also been concentrating on the ordinance enforcement nuisance property. Sent out some notices. He's also looking into the legal procedures involved in abating these properties. The library has their summer reading program in progress. They've had the magic show, and tomorrow night, it's movie night down here at the Mueller Center. The South Dakota Libraries Technology Grant, which was part of some COVID money. They didn't get the first round, but they're going to resubmit for the July round. Our book barn sales are booming post-COVID. There are many bargains down there that help support the library's efforts. With the assistance of Alderman Pratt, we did get some roof repairs done at the library roof, and the skylights will need some attention soon as well. Public safety, we talked about the medical marijuana ordinance. Public Works focused on the Martin Street Water and Sewer Improvement District, since we received the petition from the property owners requesting that. Plans are still underway for the hangar construction and getting that underway with our local contractor. That wraps up for now. Thank you all.
Any questions for the city administrator? Thank you, John. I just have a brief report for you folks. Wes has already spoken a little bit about it, and so has JR. I want to thank the city crews for working as hard and diligently as they did to make the cemetery look good for the Memorial Day weekend. As both John and Wes said, they were short-staffed, but they gave it everything, and I want to personally thank them for doing that. Bill also talked about the third annual Fun Day fly-in out at the airport, and I want to add a couple things. Again, want to thank the city staff that helped move tables and chairs and bleachers out there. Want to thank Bill for being our MC and keeping everybody entertained and providing quizzes for people to answer. So thank you for doing that. Tracy was out there measuring the flower drops. The kids didn't even come close to hitting him, which was disappointing, but he was out there helping out as best he could. I want to thank the pilots, Ivan Venner, Larry Vetterman, Kurt Burt, Clint Bushwitz, John O'Connor for providing their aircraft and their time. I talked with Larry a little bit to try to understand, what is the value of the donation that those pilots contributed towards putting on a great event out there. It was anywhere from $50 to $75 that the cost they incurred for wear and tear on the vehicles and gas and those kinds of things. So I want to thank them. The Petra Wilson provided a walk-in balloon for us, so that was exciting. People could look at what was going on there. I want to thank the Rapid City Civil Air Patrol and the Young Eagles Experimental Aircraft Association. The kids were out there helping, and a lot of the questions that Bill came up with were for the Civil Air Patrol. So he engaged with them, and they really seemed to enjoy that. A lot of kids that showed up, parents that showed up. I thought it was a great event. So I want to thank everybody that gave of their time to make that a good event. And as I said, it was the third annual one. And I would encourage anybody in the future to find time to go out to that event. It's really a great event. So thank everyone for that. So with that, we need a motion to go into executive session.
Make a motion to go into executive sessions for South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2-3 for legal.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes, and there won't be any action taken when we come back out of executive session.